college journey was a long and harried process, and we don't have to get into all of that today, but I just want to talk about my experiences in my senior year at Florida State University. And I guess in a larger sense, my experience as an artist, and just admitting to myself that I'm an artist, I like to draw. To give some context, I guess I have to start with my first college experience. The process of choosing a college is like one of the worst experiences you can give anyone ever, and I was really back and forth on what major I wanted, what college I wanted, what state I wanted, blah, blah, blah. Big part of me wanted to major in animation at SCAD, but as an out-of-state student, that's actually insane tuition. I wouldn't necessarily say I chose the safe option, but I chose a much more safer option because I went with the college that I had the most scholarship funds in. At the time I justified it, well, interactive and game design is almost like animation. If I could go back, I would just go with something I actually felt like I wanted to do, instead of choosing what gave me the most scholarship money, because it led to a long journey, and we don't have to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Somehow, inexplicably, I ended up at FSU, majoring in international affairs, pursuing a bachelor's of science, mind you. I guess over the years of pursuing my college degree, I kind of came into this idea that the arts is a thing for some people, but maybe it's not a thing for me. Because unlike other people who have been dissuaded from a career in the arts, I've had a very supportive family who's encouraged me to follow my dreams. I've had this understanding that arts is a business. It's a thing people can make a living off of. You don't have to be a starving artist. So I don't know why there's always been this disconnect of me being an artist and me actually trying to make a living off of my art, or like pursuing arts in some way. But on the other hand, I don't think me pursuing a bachelor's degree in international affairs is in contrast to who I am, if that makes sense. I knew I was an artist, and it didn't matter if I went into a creative field or not. I was going to be an artist no matter what. And delving into other aspects of my personality and my interests would only further develop my art. I think sometimes there's this idea that you have to pick one. You can't be an artist and a corporate baddie, but maybe you can. I don't know. Maybe you can. Following my experiences being a corporate baddie at FSU, I don't know if that's necessarily the life I want, but maybe it's possible. I don't know, very long-winded exposition. I've tried to think really hard of what my problem is, but I can't figure it out. So that's just, even that is just like a guesstimate of why I haven't been an artist, you know? Let's finally get to the meat of the story. Fall 2025, FSU, close by campus. I chose to major in international affairs because I incorrectly assumed that it would be mostly about culture and international exchange, but it was mostly about politics and history, which are subjects that I wasn't super familiar with. And I knew going into it that this was going to be my last time living on a college campus ever, so I wanted to make the most of it because everyone says that, like, their college years are the best years of their life. They have so many good memories. So that's probably why I created the worst schedule ever known to mankind. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I had 2 classes that were consistently every single day, 1 class that was optional depending on the week, and 1 class that only happened on Wednesdays. So on Wednesdays, on a worst day of my life, I could have 4 classes in one day. Did include an 8 a.m. class and a class that went to 8 p.m. So I could potentially stay on campus from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. On top of that, I was involved heavily in my scholarship house because I had to be, so I had a role as media coordinator, and I also had chores to do, and sometimes I had to cook dinner for the residents. Great opportunity, a lot of work. On top of that, I really wanted to get involved on campus, so every campus event, I was there. Every time they were giving something free away, I was there. Free food, yep. That semester, I took Japanese, intelligence, communications, and intro to professional development for international affairs major. That's what it is. And it was already very clear to me that I didn't have a lot of the foundational knowledge that a senior in international affairs would have, because I came in as a transfer student with, a long and harried history we don't have to talk about. Japanese was the best class. That was my 8 a.m. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But it was my favorite class because that one felt like, oh my gosh, these are actually my people. But again, I felt like I lacked some of the foundational knowledge because I'm not sure how I was allowed in that class because I skipped over a step in the process. But I needed it for my major, so I'm glad I was. 全部は忘れた. I don't know anything anymore. Then after that, optionally on Wednesdays was my my professional development for international affairs majors. And that class was basically like, go out and get involved, which was great for me because that was already my goal. And then communications, which was just a gen ed class, but of course, that's the class you had to do a group project in. They're the ones always making you work the hardest, I swear. And then it was my dreaded intelligence night class from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. I'll stress again, 8 p.m. There's still something about the intelligence world that seems really appealing to me, but I think it's appealing to me as someone who writes stories and not someone who could actually go out and be an intelligence officer. I like detective shows and Criminal Minds. I did not like this intelligence class. This was the bane of my existence. Most of the assignments were just open note quizzes, which is fine, but one of them was a 9-page long paper due at the end of the semester, the only paper you have to write in this class, so you don't know how the professor grades it, about a topic not discussed in class. You have to go find your own research. I know you may be hearing that and thinking, oh, it's just a research paper. To do twice that work in grad school. I don't care, okay? I did not like it. It was not fun. I did get 100 on it, but it was not a fun process. I felt like I went into a fugue state finalizing the paper. It was intense. Around the beginning of my time in my professional development for international affairs class, there was a guest speaker who talked about the Boren Scholarship. Give you a lump sum of money to go study a language abroad, especially if it's a language deemed critically important by the State Department, which is like Japanese or Arabic, or I think Russian is on it too. That was my graduation game plan, was to get this scholarship, this nationally competitive scholarship, and then go study a language in Japan for a year. So in addition to everything else I was doing, I was also meeting monthly, weekly, pretty often with a scholarship, fellowship, writer advisor to help me write the perfect essay. And I love writing, I really do, but I hate it so much. Oh, I loathe it. Writing an academic essay, writing a 9-page research paper is my worst nightmare. I can't just write a skeleton framework with introduction, paragraph 1, paragraph 2. That's how I start, and then it devolves into, well, here's all the themes for the essay, and then everything in red is things that I don't like, and everything in yellow is sentences that I like, but I want to change a little bit, and then I also have to make a word graveyard for all the sentences that I like, but I don't want in the essay, but I don't want to get rid of just yet. Over the course of fall semester, having to write 3 huge essays, 1 for my class, and then 2 for the scholarship, on top of all the other essays I had to be writing, smaller essays for just my other classes. Oh, it was painful. At the end of fall semester, it was pretty much like a victory lap. Most other people, I think, get really scared of finals week, but for me, it was like, oh my gosh, all the pressure of my life has just completely lifted off of me. What do I gotta do? Just a couple of tests? Okay, fine. I'll study for them the day before, and then I'll be free. I don't have to go to any more classes because the classes are over for final week. All of my chores at my scholarship house are over. That was my cat. And I got to go home for winter break, which was epic. But by spring semester, I returned and I was completely over it. I was still trying to convince myself that I wanted to work in the federal government. By that point, I had realized that the people around me they had to fight and give so much just to achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve, you know? The thing everyone's working for. And yeah, money, a good career, all of that is important, especially nowadays. But it all felt pretty vapid to me. I had to pick a professional, a businessy sounding goal to have a passion about. I'm reading people's LinkedIn and they're like, I have a passion for SEO development and stock market, hedge funds, whatever they're trying to say. I was like, this is not me. This isn't me. And I know that now. I don't think it helped that the whole time I was at FSU, it felt like I was pushing a really heavy door trying to access knowledge, and I just couldn't get it open. And I can objectively realize it's because I skipped a lot of the foundational knowledge, but to me, I just felt so stupid every day and so ignorant of the world. Which is why I'm glad I went, because I was ignorant and I learned a lot. Also, here's some B-roll because I'm not done talking. When I got back home from spring semester, it was like a switch had flipped or my brain had been broken or something, because now I just feel like an artist. I feel like all I want to do right now is paint and see what happens. But again, all of my interests are me, and I am all of my interest. So this isn't to say that I won't end up working in the government. I won't end up working an office job. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know anything. Again, I've tried really, really, really hard to think about, like, who am I? What do I want? What do I want my future to look like? And after all that, I can say, I don't know. I might never figure it out. This was really incoherent, but I hope the message you take away is explore all of your interests, live fully. Anything that seems like it might interest you, go ahead and try it out, see what happens. You might grow in unexpected ways, which I know is what happened to me. I feel like I realized a lot of things about myself, and I also grew as a person. I feel more professional. I feel like I've got a strong work ethic now, and I feel like I've added to my artistic catalog up in the noggin. And my final message is if anyone asks me about my future, I'm lying to you. I don't know anything. I make up an answer every single time, so stop asking. I just lie and lie. Thank you for watching me ramble for 10 minutes, and I hope I'll see you again sometime. Bye!